Hello everyone, myself Saumya Grover. I am the course coordinator for the subject Print Journalism BAJMC 202 code. This is the introductory video. The name of the course is Print Journalism. It carries 4 credits. It comes under the core category of the course. It is in second semester. The objectives of the course: it will help you to understand the principles and techniques of journalism, identify news values and sources of news, understand structure of a newsroom, understand modern trends in print journalism with discussion on contemporary issues and problems which are there and which might affect organizations of newspapers in the future. OBE COs. CO1, to understand role and responsibilities of journalists. CO2, understand different types of print media. CO3, demonstrate news writing skills and news sources. CO4, analyze newsroom setup and responsibilities of chief editor. CO5, design the final layout of newspaper and magazine. The content of the LMS. The LMS has been divided into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, e-tutorial, which includes introductory video of the course, content videos, audios on each unit of the syllabi. Quadrant 2 will contain e-content with self-instructional material, e-books, web resources, research papers and journals, and other reference material. Quadrant 3, it is the discussion forum for raising of doubts and clarifying them on a near real-time basis. Different topics on emerging issues will be uploaded from time to time and students will participate in discussions. Quadrant 4, it relates to assessment which contains multiple choice questions, short answer questions, long answer questions. All the above have been uploaded unit-wise in the LMS. The relevance of the course. This subject will carry 12 chapters. Chapter number 1, Introduction to Journalism. In this subject, we will study about the concept of journalism, the role of journalist and responsibilities of a journalist. As we all know, journalism is a form of communication based on asking and answering the questions who, what, how, where, when, and why. Journalism is anything that contributes in some way in gathering, selection, processing of news and current affairs for the press, radio, television, film, cable, internet, etc. Journalism is a discipline of collecting, analyzing, verifying, and presenting news regarding current events, trends, issues, and people. Those who practice journalism are known as journalists. Journalism is defined by Dennis McWallius as the paid writing for public media with reference to actual and ongoing events of public relevance. The principles of journalism will include journalism's first obligation is to truth, its first loyalty is to citizens, its essence is a discipline of verification, its practitioners must maintain an independence from those they cover, it must serve as an independent monitor of power, It must provide a forum for public criticism and compromise. It must strive to make the significant interesting and relevant. It must keep the news comprehensive and proportional. Its practitioners must be allowed to exercise their personal conscience. A journalist is a person who collects, writes, or distributes news or other current information. Journalists work in many areas of life, finding and presenting information. However, for the purpose of this manual, we define journalists principally as men and women who present that information as news to the audiences of newspaper, magazines, radio or television stations or the internet. In the second unit, we will be talking about the two very famous terms, yellow journalism and citizen journalism. Also, we'll be talking about journalism as a fourth estate. Yellow journalism is a way of publishing news in such a format that attracts a good number of readers with an aim to increase the circulation of the newspaper. This is a kind of journalism wherein the news is published without any proof. The main aim of yellow journalism is to gather the attention of people in the society. The concept of citizen journalism is based on citizens who play a dynamic role in the process of news collecting, reporting, editing, and distributing it to other public. It is different from professional journalism and traditional reporting. This kind of journalism needs no graduation from a professional course. The requirements are simple. The citizens has to have a camera or good writing skills and more importantly, a social media account. The third unit, we'll talk about Introduction to Newspaper. We'll read about the characteristics of the newspaper and all its parts like the news section, the photojournalism, the opinion section, editorial section, the entertainment section, the sports section and the advertising section. Along with this, we'll also talk about the role of newspaper. We'll also differentiate different types of newspaper, content-wise like political newspaper and economic newspapers, region-wise, the national newspaper and local newspaper. On the time of release, the newspapers can be morning, afternoon and evening. And on the size, it can be a broadsheet or a tabloid. We will also talk about different types of magazines. Be it general interest magazines, business magazines, consumer magazines, public relation periodicals, literary reviews, news magazines, and different language magazines. In the next unit, we will be talking about the news. News is something that we did not know before. It is something that interests people, a large number of people, even a nation or the world at large. We will also talk about the elements of news like oddity, emotion, consequence, proximity, drama, human interest, prominence, progress, conflicts, timeliness. In the next unit, we'll talk about different types of news. We'll talk about soft news, hard news, breaking news, and follow-up news. We will also study about different types of headlines, lead, and body, which are a very important skill required for writing a news. The lead will include different types: direct leads, blind leads, narrative leads, quote leads, question leads, direct appeal lead. In headline, there will be different types of headlines like label headline, active headline, impressionist headline, single line, double line, inverted pyramid headline, hanging headline, rectangle or square identification, banner headline, skeleton headline, waistline headline, etc. We'll be discussing about news sources and different types of news sources. We'll be talking about attribution and its types, the credibility and quotations, byline and credit line, and also about embargo. Next, we'll be talking about, in the subject, will be the structure of a newsroom. We will discuss about the whole newsroom setup and different departments like desk management. Then we have the editorial room. Then in which we have the editor, editorial page editor, managing editor, city editor, news editor, section editor, layout editor, wire editor, slot and copy desk chief, photo and graphics editor, copy editor. We'll also study about the role and functions about chief sub-editor, the sub-editor, the last unit we'll be talking about editing, in which we'll talk about the nature and need for editing. We'll discuss about principles of editing. Also, we'll be talking about how the editing works. Editing is basically a process of improving the hurriedly written news stories and other write-ups into readable shape. Editing in newspaper terminology is called copy editing, sub-editing, or subbing. Along with this, we'll also talk about the inverted pyramid style of writing a news story. We'll also talk about a proofreading. What are the qualities of a good sub-editor? What is the difference between proofreading and editing, and how it is different? We'll also talk about the canons of good editing, including precision, sticking to basics, imagination, convergence, critical thinking. We'll also talk about the principles of good news editing, including balance and fairness, attribution, accuracy, brevity, clarity, readability, human interest, and sharp observation. Also, photo editing and caption writing, computer application in photo editing will also be included in the course. That's all. Thank you very much.